Hey everyone, Darren here. Welcome to part 10 of the Tales of Retrospective, and today I'll be reviewing the game that secured the Tales series' future in the Western video game world. Tales of Graces was produced by Namco Bandai and once again developed by their Tales studio. It originally released in Japan December 2nd, 2010 for the Nintendo Wii. The game was later ported to the PlayStation 3 and called Tales of Graces F, the F meaning future, as an extra 10-hour epilogue that takes place after the main game was added. This port job also included better visuals and various small extras, but after the disappointing North American sales of the previous few Tales games, Namco Bandai is unsure whether or not the series had a future outside of Japan. At this crucial point, Namco Bandai decided to give the Tales series one last chance in the Western video game market. Eventually, Tales of Graces F released on March 13, 2012 in North America, and luckily for Tales fans and JRPG fans alike, the game was a commercial success and helped secure a future for the Tales series in the Western world. But is Tales of Graces F actually a good game? It had a mixed critical reception, and the game may have only sold on name alone. Well, let's find out. Tales of Graces F begins during the childhood of our protagonist Asbel Lant and his misadventures with his friends and family. This entire childhood story arc is incredibly slow-paced and is meant to give various party members a backstory, and I can appreciate that, but it's borderline boring. Luckily, it only lasts for a couple hours and can be skipped on future playthroughs. The real story of the game commences many years after the events of Asbel's childhood and begins with his graduation from the Knight Academy. From here, the plot mainly centers around reconnecting Asbel with his childhood friends and finding both the courage and strength required to protect those he cherishes. Yes, the story is kind of bland and generic, but it isn't terrible. Luckily, the main cast of characters outshine their stale plot and are very engaging to watch and learn more about. Sadly, the cast for Graces F isn't the most memorable, and many of them appear to be two-dimensional characters at best, but thanks to many meaningful moments and hilarious skits, they become quite likable and are easy to relate with. Tales of Graces F has many similarities to Tales of Eternia. It has a bland story, good, although not great characters, but it has an outstanding combat system that makes up for the rest of the game is lacking. Tales of Graces F's combat system may be my favorite scene in any action RPG, but it's a bit of a radical departure from the familiar system seen in many other North American Tales releases, but it's a welcome change of pace and an absolute blast to play. One of the main changes seen in this new battle system is that there's no TP. That's right, tech points are replaced by CC, and the amount of CC a character possesses determines how many simultaneous actions that character may take. These actions include two different types of arts, dodging, and running around in 3D. Because of this change, there are no longer any ordinary attacks. Instead, every character has A arts that primarily consist of physical attacks, and B arts, which function similarly to magic and arts from previous games. This change in how attacks are executed means that combos are easier to pull off, but difficult to maintain, and this battle system has a greater emphasis on dodging, as a well-timed dodge can grant a temporary boost in CC. All in all, this new battle system is incredibly engaging, kept me playing for hours on end. There were many times when I'd purposely grind just to fight for the sake of fighting. That's how much fun this game is. The battle system isn't the only gameplay system that has changed. Leveling up is done in a different fashion as well. Titles actually have uses that affect gameplay. They are earned through a variety of means and grant certain buffs and the abilities to use certain arts. Upon earning a certain amount of experience, you earn ranks in the title. After mastering a title, you can permanently keep the arts that title had. This title system proved really addicting and made me want to earn all the titles and attempt to master them all. Another change to the gameplay is that there's no longer an overworld. However, unlike Dawn of the New World, the player must travel across various fields and mini dungeons to get from destination to destination. Although it may not be what I'd prefer, I think this change is refreshing, although it can be annoying to be forced to travel for long periods of time. Luckily, there is a fast travel system that is unlocked later in the game. But that's not all that's changed. Another is the increased emphasis of alchemy. Alchemy and item synthesis has been present in the series since Abyss, and was heavily featured in Vesperia, but it's truly vital in Tales of Graces F, as all of the cooking, item synthesis, weapon and armor forging / upgrading are done through the Illith mixer. Each of the above actions require a certain amount of Illith, which can be found in both chests and purchased in shops. And there are many benefits to using the crafting and alchemy systems throughout the game, as the game offers many of the strongest weapons and armors exclusively through creating them. There are also many beneficial effects like stat buffs and healing that can occur in mid-battle, if you set them to occur in the Illith mixer beforehand. And before I forget to mention, the game's multiplayer works really well. Tales of Graces F may be one of the best Tales games to play with friends. As it may be apparent at this point, Tales of Graces F expands and changes many pre-existing systems, which ultimately make for an engaging experience, but not every change is for the better. Due to the lack of an overworld, there isn't any real freedom or exploration in Grace's F, as many paths can't be explored until certain points in the narrative are reached. You are essentially traveling from city to dungeon to city, and for some, this linearity may hamper their experience. Personally, it didn't bother me too much, but there were moments when I yearned for more freedom. But at this point, I think I've talked enough about the gameplay. Let's talk about the graphics. The visuals in Grace's F's are standard for the PlayStation 3, if a little subpar. But you do have to remember, this was originally a Wii game, and considering that it looks pretty good, models aren't overly detailed, but everything animates really smoothly. And more importantly, there's absolutely no slowdown or any true technical hiccups. Well, aside from the terrible non-existing lip syncing.
They're not from Fendel. Wait!
As well, the menus look absolutely gorgeous. I don't know if it's just the visuals for them or their design, but I really enjoyed navigating through the menus. It made using the Elith mixer a lot more pleasant. The game also features series composer Motoi Sakuraba and Hibiki Ayoma, but sadly, this isn't their best work. Almost the entire soundtrack is forgettable, save for a theme or two, but overall, this is an underwhelming effort, especially since I know these composers are capable of much more. As for the rest of the audio, the sound effects used in battle are very fitting and reflect how powerful certain attacks can be. The voice acting in the game is great, with some really solid performances from most of the main cast, although Sophie's monotone can take a while to adjust to. Overall, the game's audio is good, but many of the songs in the game are lacking. At the end of the day, Tales of Grace's F isn't a perfect Tales game. It may not even be better than the games that preceded it, but I believe the combat system alone warrants a playthrough of this game. Regardless of how you feel about the story or characters, I think the gameplay will hold your interest in this lengthy adventure. The game is quite long, including the epilogue. My final playtime is over 70 hours. That did also include several side quests and watching all the game's skits, which there is a lot of. Tales of Grace's F is also becoming rather cheap now, considering it released a bit over a year ago, and it usually goes for around the $20 to $30 mark. In the end, I hope all fans and JRPG fans alike give this game a try, as it deserves more praise and recognition for what it has accomplished. Without Tales of Grace's F, we may have never seen such tales like Tales of Xilla and Ni no Kuni released in North America. Speaking of Xilla, we are nearing the end of the Tales Retrospective, with Tales of Xilla being the final installment until Tales of Xilla 2 releases in the West, at some point in 2014. Well, stay tuned for part 11 as I review the latest Tales game to be released in North America. Till next time.